Hi everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Right, so we're on to the third paragraph of my weekly lesson. Now, a few of you have been asking, where is it and where can you access it, right? So first of all, if you're on Italki, you should see it in my list of postings in the community. It would have been posted on Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on where you are. If you are watching or listening rather to this podcast on all of the other platforms, you'll see a link to my website there, and you can just follow that through and then choose weekly lesson. Okay, so we're on the third paragraph today. So let's read through it. So it says here in the third paragraph of the weekly lesson for today, although sculpture, poetry, and art sit well these days with religion and government, throughout history, they endured a relationship which was rather more acrimonious. The government wanted money to ensure priceless objects could be preserved, so charges seemed to be a natural way to achieve that goal, and in doing so reduced art down to a commodity which could be used as a tool of investment. As less and less British people find religion relevant, the established church has relied upon its collection of arts and artistic expression for people to relate to it as well, ensuring its financial future. Oh, very interesting, very interesting. Right, so let's just pick up a little bit here on the vowel sounds, okay? So just by pulling your mouth down, you can create a lovely vowel sound. The problem is many cultures in the world, people speak a little bit horizontally. So look in the mirror, see which way your lips are going, and you might be surprised that you're speaking rather flatly because your mouth is moving side to side. But in English, when you speak well, your mouth is coming down. Down. My name is Bond, James Bond. If you say that by moving your mouth side to side, it becomes Bind, James Bind. So to get the perfect O sound, you need to be pulling your mouth down. And that's why British people always look completely miserable. So just keep that in mind. Pull your mouth down. Very, very important. And I'll demonstrate that on YouTube. Okay, so if you log in to these weeks, or I should say this week's lessons. These weeks implies a plural, but I'm talking very specifically about today. So the subject of today's lesson is this universal access scheme, giving us free access to museums. So you'll find that on the third day of this week. It will be clearly marked. But the idea anyway is to pull your mouth down. Okay, that'll really help you a lot with your pronunciation. So really very important there. Very important. Yeah, I just wanted to pick up on this part here where it says reduce the art down to a commodity, because we find that a lot with language, and I'll be, again, talking more about this on the motivational clip that you can see on YouTube. But the problem is, when we reduce language down to a commodity, everyone's reduced. It's not only about language, the whole system is reduced. Our thinking is reduced. And this is a problem, because with language, you should be uplifting your thinking. Your thinking shouldn't be going down because you've got a lack of vocabulary to express yourself. You should be looking for new ways to find expression. Now, when I was writing this article, endurance was something that really was talking to me a lot. You know, when we endure something, we suffer it. It's like a hardship that we carry on with until something is clear. Sometimes we have to endure hard times to get what we want. So endurance and to endure is a really good word here. It says throughout history they endured a relationship, endured. Now you can hear an oo sound there, which comes from almost the word you. For example, you said, and also endured. So it's the same kind of sound there, endured. So I want you just to pick up on that, endured. Yeah, it's true that, you know, learning a language isn't easy, and we do endure a lot. But I think where we really go wrong with this kind of stuff is we don't use the easy techniques enough. And one of the easiest things you can do is shadow. Listening to a native speaker, repeating what they say. I know it sounds dull and boring, but it's one of the most powerful ways to learn and to correct your accents. Kids can't read dictionaries. Children aren't able to access that kind of stuff. All they can do is hear you and repeat, sometimes embarrassingly. And you really need to get back to that. So in the early stages of learning, I know some of you really studied books tremendously, but in order to connect yourself to the culture, you need to start working with sound. It's not actually that hard. You just need to develop a daily practice of listening and repeating without understanding, just imitating what you're hearing. And one of the keys of doing that is making sure that your voice is coming down. Now, I'm just going to read this first line again. Notice the vowel sounds, although, sculpture. So my mouth is really moving horizontally there. Poetry and art sit well these days. I'll be reading these paragraphs on YouTube as well, so you can see my mouth movement. But it's really important that you start getting correct vowel sounds. So that's something for you to keep in mind. All right. Now, as you know, with this new study of the weekly lesson that we've been going through, I'm also giving you affirmations, because many of you, you're just hopeless. I mean, many of you really have such a poor idea of your own English that you're not stepping into your power. And it's really important that you give yourself a voice and not be afraid, you know, to speak loudly, make yourself heard. You know, when you speak English in a second language, many of you are very quiet, afraid to speak. You know, I ask you every time I meet with you, did you talk to anyone in English? Oh, no. No, I'm afraid to talk in English. So today's affirmation is, my opinion is heard and respected. My opinion is heard and respected. So I'd like you to be working with that today. All you have to do is get a bit of paper, write it down, and throughout the day, just glance at it. put it on your phone if it's easier, and I want you really to try to speak a little bit louder. You can see these affirmations as something special. Imagine that they're resonating out there in the universe. Speaking of things resonating out in the universe, I see they found a lost Caravaggio. Oh, interesting. It's a bit of art. And they almost sold it for £1,500. Oh, it's beautiful. It's called Ecce Homo. And it was painted between 1605 and 1609. Oh, lovely, isn't it? Yeah. Very interesting that, isn't it? I love art. We're just going to read a little bit of this. And again, pull the mouth down. You can imitate my voice if you want to copy my voice, okay? So, 4 centuries after it was painted, 3.5 centuries after it arrived in Spain, and 3 years after it came dangerously close to going under the hammer for just €1,500, a lost Caravaggio has gone on display at the Prado in Madrid. Lots of new words there. Let's just say this again. 4 centuries after it was painted, and you can hear there I'm joining the words up. 3.5 centuries after it arrived in Spain, yeah, and 3 years after it came dangerously close to going under the hammer for just €1,500, a lost Caravaggio has gone on display. Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. So if something goes under the hammer, it means it's sold at auction. You should remember that because I've been talking about it in previous podcasts. And there's a podcast, I think, called Under the Hammer. So you can have a look for that if you want. Very interesting. Very interesting. So, yeah, that's the story today about a lost Caravaggio. 4 centuries after it was painted, 3.5 centuries after it arrived in Spain, and 3 years after it came dangerously close to going under the hammer, being auctioned for just £1,500, a lost Caravaggio has gone on display at the Prado in Madrid. I've never been in the Prado, even though I lived in Spain for many years. I never actually went there. I love art, but not that much. But who knows? I'll be going there later in the year. So maybe I'll pop in and say hello to the Caravaggio. And that's it for me for today. So I'll catch up with you again soon. I hope you've enjoyed this. See you. Bye.